is time to plant the peppers. I would have waited one extra day, but the weatherman is saying now that the nights are not going to get below the mid-50s. And so last night it got down to 52. I just wanted to make sure because I invested a lot of time and energy into these peppers and I don't want to mess it up. So I want to show you a couple of things about these peppers because there were some things that I did really well and there's some things that I wish that I hadn't done. So these are my spice peppers. So I've got some cayenne and I've got some paprika in here. I didn't put any like jalapeno or anything like that. I'm just using these to make spices. But you can see the difference in the pepper plants. The ones in the tiny containers are dramatically smaller than the ones that are in the larger containers. One of the things that I did well this year, I think, with the peppers and the tomatoes, or not the peppers and the tomatoes, the peppers and the eggplants, was I planted a couple of seeds into really large containers right away, so I didn't have to transplant them at all. And then they just grew and they did really well. There was no transplant shock, and this is the best they've ever done. And so rather than starting them in the small little trays, the little cell trays, I'm not going to do that anymore. From now on, I'm planting them straight into these big pots that I have, and they do much better in this than they do starting off in the small seed trays and then being transplanted. Okay, so I only have to transplant them once from the pot into the garden, and I think that that's going to make a big difference. I'm going to start planting them, and then I'm also going to plant my eggplants today. And then I also have some garden huckleberry plants that I got from Baker Creek Seeds. And I'm going to put these in the food forest where they can just kind of sprawl. Okay, it's a busy day on the homestead, trying to get everything in before it rains. So this is a pepper plant that I just took out of the pot. Here, let me show you the pot. Okay, I successfully have mulch all over me. Okay, so the pepper was in the pot like this. You never want to pull the plant out of the pot by the stems. So what you do is you turn it upside down and you just squeeze until it comes out on its own. You definitely don't want to put that kind of pressure on the stems. Now, when I planted this, I planted multiple seeds. I put about 5 seeds per little pod, and then the 2 biggest ones that grew, I let grow, and then I cut the other 3. The reason why you plant a bunch of seeds is because they don't always germinate, and so you don't want to plant 1 seed per pot and then have a whole tray where maybe only just half germinated. You want to have every cell or pot have a plant in it. So you plant 3 or 4 seeds in each one, sometimes 5, and then the strongest ones you let live, and the weakest ones, the ones that are smaller, you cut. Okay, you don't pull them out, you just cut them with little scissors, making sure not to cut the other ones. Okay, so I have these growing now, and I've got the 2 that I kept in each one. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to very carefully pull them apart. And when you plant seeds, the general rule is you want to basically bury the seed about the width of the seed. So if it's a really, really tiny seed, you barely cover it with dirt at all. If it's a big seed, like a watermelon seed or a pumpkin seed or something like that, then you can bury it a little deeper, like a 1/4 inch or something like that. Basically, the width of the seed may be the width of the seed and a half. So, okay. So I pulled this apart, and now I have 2 little clumps of 2. Now this is where I have to be really careful and gentle because these roots, if you see them, these plants are really close to each other. The roots are very much intertwined. So I'm just going to very gently pull, and if it's not giving it all, I'll loosen up the dirt a little bit more. And then I'll very gently pull again. I do not want to break roots, and I definitely don't want to break the stem of the plant. And the roots are usually entwined with each other, so it just takes a little bit of gentle pulling, and they'll kind of come free. So now I have 2 plants, and they each have their own roots, and they're not... If I planted these 2 together, they wouldn't grow as big because they'd be constrained. So I have to separate them. But just that little bit of tugging and separating is not going to hurt them too much. They're going to recover from that very quickly. Okay, so let me put these in, and I dig in the dirt, and I for peppers, I put a hole that's pretty much right to where the top of the soil is, maybe a little bit deeper, so I can put some soil on top of it, just a little bit, just to really snug it in. It's really important when you're putting plants in the ground that you push down enough, not on the plant, on the soil around it, so that you know that there's no air pockets. Air will ruin and kill the roots, which in turn will kill the plant. So we want to make sure that there's no room for air pockets there. So you really push down, make sure that they're snug in there, and then covered well with dirt. So that's a really, really important thing to think about. Okay, well, I'm going to keep planting. I hope that's him getting a bowl. That would be so good. Okay, so I get to plant my eggplant now. And I have eggplant. This is the first year that I'm really being serious about growing eggplant. And I put a lot of effort into these seedlings, and I'm very excited that they're doing so well. And so I waited until it was like pepper planting time in the garden. Before putting these out in the garden. These chickens, they're being very social across the yard at each other. I hope you can still hear me. What I'm going to do is I have this one string hanging down. I'm going to plant, you see how I made a knot on the bottom of it? This is just like the tomato trellis thing that I did. I'm going to make a hole, put this in, and then I'm going to put the eggplant on top of it. Now, once it starts growing a little bit more, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put another string from the top, and I'm going to prune my eggplants so that there are 2 strands coming out of it. With a tomato, I only do 1 stalk going up, but with an eggplant, I'm going to do 2 stalks. So let me show you real quick what I do, just to get them in the ground. Okay, so here I have a lovely eggplant seedling. And I'm going to take this out of the pot very carefully, and then I'm going to, just with my hand, dig a hole because my soil is so soft here. I don't have to use a trowel. It's very, very exciting, very different from what it used to be. And so I'm going to take this and I'm going to put it down at the bottom of the hole, and then I'm going to put the eggplant on top. There's the string, and I put the eggplant directly on top of the knot of the string. And I'm just gonna put some nice soil around the base, push it in really good so that I know that there's no air pockets, and then put my mulch around the edges of it as well so that we can keep in that moisture as it grows. Okay, so there's one, and then I'm going to do the same thing to the next one. So I am in my food forest, and I'm going to be planting huckleberry. And this is not like the evergreen huckleberry that I've got growing around here. This is garden huckleberry. I've never grown this before, so I'm not exactly sure what the habit is of it, and I'm not exactly sure what it's going to taste like. But I've got 4 plants, and apparently it grows quickly, and I think it's an annual. So I'm going to be growing that, and I got to figure out a place to stick it. That's the best part of the food forest. You can just stick things places. I love doing that. I love just being like, oh, let's have a lot of abundance of flora here. So anyway, I'm going to figure it out. Oh, my witch hazel tree is looking really good. And the woad. That woad makes me say, whoa. And the elderberry tree, look at how big the elderberry is getting. This is so exciting. The monarda is getting big. I got some milkweed coming up over there. The oregano shot up. Anyway, we're going to be having quite a rain very soon. And so I'm excited to see how everything just like spits up really fast after this rain happens, because I can water the garden and it looks good, but if it's a real rain that waters the garden, things just flourish very rapidly. And then let me show you one more thing. I've got my peaches are looking bigger and better. Let me show you. Look at these. So it's about the size of my thumb right there, the end of my thumb. But they're growing like crazy. So exciting. Oh, I can't wait to harvest some. And then look at this. So my figs always end up growing from the roots at the beginning of the year. This is tree of heaven. We don't want that. But this year, I'm getting figs, fig growth off of old wood, which means we're going to have a better harvest this year. And I'm very excited about that. I mean, look at this. Do you see? Growing off the old wood. Yay! The figs are always the last things to like show me their colors, whether or not they survived the year. And so I'm very excited to see them getting growth on old wood, especially. If you guys haven't ever had a fig off the bush, I'm pretty sure you haven't lived yet. I'm just going to say, because there is nothing in this world like a fig straight off the fig tree. Before I had a fresh fig, I thought I didn't like figs because, I mean, I liked fig Newtons, but they weren't my favorite, and I could have a couple of them, and I enjoyed them. They were mostly nostalgic because it was something, you know, that my dad and I would eat together because he loved fig Newtons. And then there's like the dried figs that you can have, and then there's like stuffed figs that sometimes you can get from, I don't know. Anyway, none of it. It's like comparing a hard strawberry candy to a strawberry that you grew yourself and picked and ate. Like, that's the difference. Like, it's so incredible. So I hope, if you've never had an opportunity to try a fig straight from the tree, that at some point you do. Sorry. My moonwort. My moonwort is going to seed. And I'm so excited to see the seed pods. They're just, oh my goodness. There's always something exciting to see in the food forest. Anyway, get some fresh figs. Eat them. You will thank me, I promise. Let me show you these moonwort seeds. These moonwort seeds now. They are so cool. Now I planted my moonwort for the flowers, but also for the seed pods, because the seed pods are so cool. Look at those seed pods. These are gonna stay on the plant for quite a while, and it ends up being like this silvery, clear, opalescent type seed pod, and it stays as a you can use it as like a cut flower. It's very striking, just like this rose bush next to it. Oh my goodness, look how good that's looking. Also, my persimmon is also the last thing to show me its growth, and here is the persimmon finally popping out and showing me that it survived the winter, even all the way on the tip. It's so exciting. But what I'm really here for is to plant the huckleberry. I gotta do what I'm here for. Okay, got the red amaranth in the ground and the garden huckleberry, and enjoyed really looking around at all this stuff coming up. If you like this video, please hit the like button, do the notification and the subscribe and all stuff like that. That would really help me out a lot if you could. If you guys want to stick around for other stuff, I guarantee there's going to be great things coming along, especially in the food forest and with what the animals are going to be doing soon. So I hope you have a wonderful day and stay blessed.